On January 13, 1999, 18-year-old Hae Lee disappeared after leaving Woodlawn High School in Baltimore, Maryland. Nearly a month later, her body was found in Lincoln Park. She'd been strangled. Because of the nature of Hae's death, it seemed like whoever killed her had to have been someone close to her. There were a handful of potential suspects, but ultimately, investigators set their sights on Adnan Syed. Think jealous ex-boyfriend. But Adnan has always maintained his innocence. In February of 2000, a judge sentenced Adnan to life plus 30, the life sentence for Hae's murder, and 30 years for kidnapping. He's spent years fighting to have the ruling overturned. Fast forward to September of 2022, after 23 years behind bars, Adnan has been released. Shocked? Wondering what happened? Well, you're not alone. I'm Brooke, this is Armchair Investigator, and today we're going to be diving into everything we know so far. If you aren't up to speed or forgot about the details surrounding this case, I recommend checking out the deep dive I did on it. It'll be linked in the description box. I want to give you a brief overview of everything that's occurred since his 2000 sentencing. In 2003, Adnan's first appeal is denied. In 2010, his attorney files another appeal. In 2012, arguments are heard in his post-conviction relief case, but in 2013, his petition is denied. 2 years later, in 2015, Maryland's Court of Special Appeals grants him permission to appeal the denial. A 5-day hearing takes place in February of 2016. Adnan's argument rests on 2 points: that his attorney failed to use his alibi, another student at Woodlawn High School who claims that she was with him at the library during the time prosecutors say Hae Lee was murdered. The second piece of information was that a cell phone expert who helped place Adnan's phone where Hae was buried says that his findings were based on unreliable data, specifically in regards to the reliability of location status. Only outgoing calls could be considered reliable for showing location. But during the trial, every call that was used to show something incriminating was an incoming call. In June of 2016, the judge grants him a new trial on the grounds that he received ineffective counsel back in 2000. And while things looked promising, a new trial didn't start right away. The state kept submitting appeals to overturn the judge's decision. In November of 2018, just 2 days before the Court of Appeals hearing, the Attorney General extends an offer to resolve the case. They want Adnan to plead guilty and serve another 4 years in prison. Adnan declines the state's plea offer. 4 months later, in March of 2019, the Court of Appeals makes a shocking decision to reverse both lower court decisions and deny Adnan a new trial, saying that his alibi's testimony would not have affected the outcome of the proceedings. After that, his case goes quiet. Until October 1st, 2021, when a new law takes effect in Maryland called the Juvenile Restoration Act, or JRA. One of the things this law does is allow minors who were sentenced as adults to ask the courts to consider a sentence reduction after they spent a minimum of 20 years in prison and have shown that they're no longer a danger to the public. Adnan's attorney saw this as an opportunity. Because Adnan was 17 when he was arrested for killing Hae Lee, it meant he was eligible to ask for a reduction in his sentence. So on October 2nd, the day after the JRA went into effect, his attorney presented his case to the Baltimore City State Attorney's Office for them to have a look at. From there, his case went into the hands of prosecutor Becky Feldman. She'd need to review everything in order to see if Adnan would be a good candidate for the Juvenile Restoration Act. Keep in mind, the JRA is not designed to vacate a conviction. But as Becky looked over the files and evidence, as she put it, she found an abundance of issues that gave overwhelming cause for concern. So in May of 22, she requests to view the state's case file from the Attorney General's office. And by June, she was diving into 17 boxes worth of documents. 7 boxes contained files from the original prosecution team, and the rest related to Adnan's post-conviction appeals. It wasn't long before she began discovering things that warranted a new trial. She found handwritten notes about a possible suspect that hadn't been turned over to the defense, meaning Adnan's lawyer had never seen them. Not turning over evidence that's favorable to the defendant is a huge deal. It's known as a Brady violation. Becky also examined the cell phone tower location evidence and consulted 2 experts who deemed the evidence unreliable. That doesn't come as much of a surprise, considering that when cell phone records were obtained from AT&T, the company sent over a how-to sheet for reading their subscriber activity reports. It stated that only outgoing calls were reliable for location status, and that any incoming calls would not be considered reliable information for location. This has been talked about and argued since at least 2016, but the fact that it's being brought to light again is critical because it further undermines the testimony of the state's key witness, Jay Wilds. He's been viewed as unreliable and problematic for a number of reasons. Not to mention, he had given 3 different statements to police about the events surrounding Hae's death. As Becky put it in her motion, the state no longer has confidence in the integrity of Adnan's conviction, and that the defendant should be afforded a new trial. According to the motion, 2 suspects have been developed as part of a 2021-2022 investigation. But in order to protect the integrity of the ongoing investigation, they aren't disclosing their names. These 2 suspects were known about during the investigation, but never properly ruled out. It's unclear if the 2 suspects acted as individuals or together, but there seems to be evidence to show that there was motive, means, and opportunity to commit the crime. An individual had provided information to the state about one of the suspects who had threatened to kill Hae Lee. The suspect was overheard saying he was upset with her and that he would make her disappear. He would kill her. Another note was also found in which a second person also provided information about that same suspect having motive to harm the victim. It's believed this information came in before Adnan's trial. His team could have used the information to substantiate their claims about an alternate suspect. And listen to this. Hae was murdered on January 13th. Her car wasn't located until February 28th. It was found parked in a grassy lot in Baltimore City. Well, after doing some digging, the state discovered that Hae's car was directly behind the house of one of the suspect's family members, and the suspect was living there in 1999. Again, this information was not available to Adnan during his 2000 trial. Now, like I said earlier, the 2 suspects were known about during the investigation, but never properly ruled out. In fact, one of the suspects was improperly cleared as a suspect. Police brought him in for questioning and gave him a polygraph test. The results indicated deception regarding his involvement in the crime. The suspect claimed he was distracted, so police let him come back and take another one on a different day. If you're wondering if this is a best practice, it's not. The state consulted with a polygraph expert who explained that, in the case of a distracted examinee, test results would tend to be shifted toward the direction of inconclusive, rather than toward deception or truthfulness. The Brady violation alone would have been enough to get Adnan a new trial, but given what else they'd found with ineffective counsel, reliability of the cell phone evidence, alternate suspects, and evidence withheld, they couldn't justify holding Adnan in prison any longer. On September 14th, city prosecutors filed a motion saying they could no longer stand behind the murder case they had built against Adnan. They asked the judge to vacate the conviction, and she did. 5 days later, on September 19th, 2022, Adnan was released from prison. His conviction was officially overturned. Judge Melissa Phinn ordered that Adnan be unshackled and remain on GPS monitoring. Now, just because Adnan's conviction is overturned doesn't mean he's completely off the hook yet. The state was very clear. They aren't saying he's innocent. What they're saying is that he deserves a new trial. So, for now, he's on home detention. Prosecutors have until mid-October to decide whether they'll proceed with a new trial or drop the charges against him. Since September 19th, people have been weighing in on whether or not the charges will be dropped. Some expect the state's attorney's office to ultimately drop the case due to how much reasonable doubt there is. And I want to hear from you. Do you think he'll get a new trial, or do you think the charges will be dropped? I know some of you have strong opinions surrounding Adnan's involvement in Hae Lee's death. Let me know what you're thinking. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up, and hey, while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on the next investigation.